All right, welcome back to another video in the college algebra series. Dealing with today's topic is dealing with what's known as the difference quotient. This isn't hard, but it is something that does require quite a bit of paper and space to write. It's a beast of a problem. It's one of my favorite problems to work in college algebra, just because it's fun. It has ties. This type of problem, the difference quotient, it is very, very similar to something else in upper level math in calculus, known as the derivative, working it by hand. And so maybe that's why I'm kind of weird, I know, but maybe that's why I like working these, just because, it's fulfilling at the end to know that you found it, that, you did all this algebra and you did it right and it works out. Call me nerdy, I guess, but hey, I'm a math teacher. What are you going to do? So here's how you do this. All right. So it says find the difference quotient of f of x equals 2x squared minus 3x. And then it gives you what's known as the difference quotient. So f of 3 plus h minus f of 3, that's a 3, not a 5, over h. And so what you're doing in this whole thing is you're going to take f of 3 plus h. You're going to plug 3 plus h in for x, and you're going to come to an expression. And then you're going to take f of 3, and you're going to plug it in for x, and you're going to get a number. And you're going to take whatever you got from putting in f of 3 plus h and take whatever you got from f of 3, and you're going to subtract it. And then once you've done that, then you're going to divide it all by h. And you can kind of factor and pull some stuff out and cancel, which cancels, and you'll get your answer. That's a really wordy way of what you're doing. All right, so let me show you kind of what to do. So first, I'm going to evaluate f of 3 plus h. So f of 3 plus h. So like I said, wherever I see an x in f of x in this equation, I'm going to substitute 3 plus h. So I get 2 times 3 plus h squared minus 3 times 3 plus h. Now, they love doing this in college algebra, and here's what they love doing. They love putting in an expression and then squaring it. And so what that means when you see that, you have to remember, you have to FOIL. I know whenever I tell my students this, they always roll their eyes and like let out this really big sigh, like, oh my gosh, it's not hard. It's just an extra kind of annoyance. Right. So if you don't remember what FOIL is a set of procedures to make sure that you distribute properly. So 3 plus h squared is basically written out as this. This is what this means, right? It's just 3 plus h times itself. And then FOIL. So the FOIL stands for first, outer, inner, last. So I'm going to take the first terms and multiply them together. So 3 times 3 is 9. And then the O in FOIL is outer term. So I'm going to take 3 times h. So that's plus 3h. Then I'm going to multiply the inner terms together. So h times 3 is plus 3h. And then I'm going to take h, the L in FOIL. It stands for the last term. So h times h is h. Oops, not 2. Is h squared. Now I can kind of simplify all this a little bit. I can combine like terms. So I have 9. There's no other constants. So that's 9 plus 3h plus 3h is 6h plus h squared, right? Now, all that is going to be multiplied by 2, right? Now we have minus 3 times 3 plus h. Okay, now I'm going to distribute my 2, and I'm going to distribute this negative 3. So when I distribute the 2, I get 2 times 9, which is 18, and 2 times 6, which is 12h, and 2 times h squared is 2h squared. Now, negative 3 times 3, which is negative 9, and negative 3 times h is minus 3h. Now I'm going to combine all these like terms. So 18 minus 9 is 9, right? And then 12h minus 3h is plus 9h plus 2h squared. So that's when I plug in f of 3 plus h, I get 9 plus 9h plus 2h squared. That's your expression, okay? Now, that's the first one, okay? Now I'm going to evaluate the expression f of x at f of 3, right? So wherever I see an x, I'm going to substitute 3. So I have 2 times 3 squared minus 3 times 3. All right, well, now remember, you got to remember order of operations, right? So there's parentheses, there's nothing to do in the parentheses. So then exponent, so 3 squared is 9. So 2 times 9 minus 3 times 3. And then 2 times 9 is 18 minus 3 times 3, which is 9. So I get 9. Okay, so here's what you do. So now I'm ready to evaluate the difference quotient. So remember, the difference quotient is what I got when I took f of 3 plus h and I subtract f of 3 and I divide that difference by h. So I'm going to take this expression right there. So I'm going to say 9 plus 9h plus 2h squared minus what I get from f of 3, which is 9, and I'm going to divide it by h. Okay, now here's a really good kind of tip. These numbers, the constant numbers, when you subtract, right, when you subtract these two, they should always match. If they don't, this 9 and this negative 9, if those don't match, then you did some algebra wrong, right? They're always going to cancel each other out. So 9 minus 9 is 0. So what I'm left with is 9h plus 2h squared over h. Now we have one last thing, one last step, and then we can get our answer. And so what that step is, you have to look at the top and you have to say, okay, what's common that I can pull out? Well, the thing that's common that I can pull out is an h. And so what I'm left with is 9 plus 2h all over h. Now, the reason I do that is because this h and this h will cancel. And so you're left with your answer, which is 9 plus 2h. And that's your difference quotient of given f of x. And yeah, so that's how you do the difference quotient. It's pretty involved. If you can tell, I've used kind of 1.5. I know I kind of wrote big, but I've used 1.25 pages. And so a lot of times my students can get kind of disheartened and like just kind of give up because it's kind of long. But it's once you kind of look at it, the algebra really isn't that bad. And so with the more practice, it becomes something that you can just kind of plug and go, right? And so if you have any questions about this problem or about any other difference quotients, I'd love to help. You can either post it in the comments below or you can email me and I'd be glad to help. All right, thanks.